Hey guys, Joe here, the Joe Madden Sports Podcast, joined by Joe of Offshore Insider. Joe, how's the day treating you? We're going to talk some baseball today. I'm excited for it.
Yeah, we are, Joe. I'm looking forward to it. You scared me with your tweet. You talked about one of your guests needing an air conditioning repairman. I live in the South, so this time of the year, hearing about an air conditioning repairman kind of gives me the heebie-jeebies. But fortunately, it's not me that had to cancel out to meet with the air conditioner repairman.
Yeah, absolutely. What's the temperature like down there today?
I did take the dog for a walk. I think it's probably in the upper 80s, most likely.
Oh, that's beautiful
Yeah.
weather.
No, it's not actually all that bad, but it can get pretty. The problem here is definitely the humidity, and who knows? It may be. I took the dog for a walk earlier. It could be in the 90s by now. As soon maybe after we do this segment, which will hopefully be tremendous, I'll take him out for another walk and see if it's even hotter than it was earlier today.
Well, I'd be loving that heat, not the humidity so much. My hair goes hugely curly. You guys definitely will know when I'm in humidity. Not
Yeah, well,
too
mine
humid
goes
here in
gray.
Canada.
Mine goes
You're-
gray, but then it goes gray when it's not humid too. So same difference.
I like it, Joe. Okay, so limited games today on the baseball card. We've got the New York Mets taking on the San Diego Padres. Now, this should be an interesting matchup here. We got the Mets coming in as a slight dog at minus 105. I'm getting on the money line minus 115 for the San Diego Padres. And this total has held solid at 7.5. What are you looking at in this one?
Yeah, Joe, I don't know if I mentioned this when we were on before, but it kind of bears repeating. Because I think about this almost every day. When I got started in the industry, some of the old timers would say, be careful. There's always a message in the line. The line's telling you something. I always said, what the bleep does it mean? But as I got the sophisticated computer software, I'm like, okay, it actually does mean something. And when the odds makers are kind of making a statement, you got to listen to what they're saying. And in this case, I like the under. And here is why. My system says if a total is less than at least one of the starters' last three starts, listen to the message that they're telling you as it goes under 32.79, 250, 2,506, and 254. Now, what this means is Carlos Carrasco, his last three starts, he had totals of 9, 8.5, and 10. Now you look at it, it's 7.5. And I think if somebody does nothing other than study lines, maybe their gut reaction would be, this total seems kind of low. When I look at Carrasco's last starts, maybe bet the over. Well, not so fast. As I said, that system that basically does take into consideration the last three totals. When you have a total that seems very low compared to those, go with the message that the odds makers are telling you. The Padres, of course, Blake Snell, he does have a deceptive ERA at 4.89, but his whip is only 1.067. Of course, he's the Cy Young Award winner from 2018. He's getting stronger each start coming off of the DL that he had last each start. He's actually going deeper and deeper. So I think he should be able to go a bare minimum of 6 innings here. He's also pitched quite well to the Metropolitans, 2.25 ERA and a 1.167 ERA against them. I'm not necessarily a huge splits guy, so to speak, but Carrasco's better at night. 284 on-base percentage against compared to 318 during the day. And again, not necessarily a huge trend guy, but the fact that the Padres have gone under 16-6 at home. So kind of the ancillary stuff also supports, the stuff that's very high volume. That's close to 6,000 games, about 2,800, about 5,800 games, I should say.
Wow.
So a very large sample size. And again, so when you hear people say something like, there's a message in every line, there truly is. They may or may not even know what they mean when they say that, but a lot of my systems are so consistent to what the old timers were telling me when I entered this business back in 1988. So I do like this game to go under.
Okay, New York Mets, San Diego Padres under the total of 7.5. Now we have another game here. This total has skyrocketed 210, opened at 9.5 between the Toronto Blue Jays and the Kansas City Royals. Now Ross Stripling starting for the Blue Jays, Lynch starting for the Kansas City Royals. What are you liking in this one?
Yeah, I'm not surprised that the total has gone up a little bit, although I think when I looked at the odds behind me, well, I see that my screen went off, but there are some 9.5s out there if you do shop around, and this is a similar theory, obviously a different system, but basically a very similar theory to what I was telling you before. If the total is at least one run higher than each of the two pitchers, at least one of his last three starts, again, listen to what the odds makers are telling you. It goes over to 1939, 1538, and 146 rate. Now, here's what I'm talking about. Stripling, 4 straight starts with a total of 8.5 or less, and during that span, as low as 7.5. But this one's 9.5 or all the way up to 10. And 2 of Lynch's last 3 starts, 8.5 or lower, and only once all season has he had a total this high. And by the way, in that game in which the total was this high, a total of 15 runs were scored. So again, listen to the message that the odds makers are telling you. Now, Lynch is a horrific 8.31 ERA and a 2.154 whip over his last 3 starts. He's been horrific at night with a 1.62 whip and a 362 on-base percentage against. And that's one of my favorite statistics, both offensively and defensively. The on-base percentage, the slugging percentage, of course, the OPS, which combines them. But that's terrible, letting 36.2% of guys to get on base. Stripling's 5 starts lasted 4 innings. In his last 5 starts, he's lasted 4 innings or less, and then 5 in the other. So he's not going very deep. They're going to have to go to the bullpen. He's been much worse on the road than he has at home, and the Jays are ripping the cover off the ball. 983 OPS in the last 7. That's why it's not an aberration. Again, I'm not necessarily a huge trends guy unless it is kind of supporting data. And there is a reason that the Jays have gone over 11 out of 12 because they've been scoring a ton of runs. They might wind up getting 10 runs themselves. So even though, and one of the many, many things that I do love about my systems and advanced analytics, there's not a gambler out there that I don't think has intrinsic biases. One of mine is when I see a high total, my knee-jerk reaction is to bet the under. If I see a low total, my knee-jerk reaction is to bet the over. But fortunately, my computer, my systems have said, hey, that's not necessarily correct. So my bias is wrong here. So as much as I don't like to bet high totals over, there is a reason this total is high, and it should actually be higher. So Toronto and Kansas City to go over the total is another pick I got for you, Joe.
Okay, I like it. I hope you're right about Toronto being able to put up almost 10 themselves, because I was writing their team total over 5 in this game. So I'm looking for a lot of runs to come out of my Blue Jays tonight.
Yeah, Joe, the funny thing is, I guess just because I've been doing this so long, I'm a full game sides and totals guy, and quite frankly, my software is better at that, but that is a great play. If I were a team total guy, I would jump all over that.
Okay, I'm glad to hear it. So best of luck to everyone in this game that we have. Lastly, Arizona Diamondbacks taking on the Cincinnati Reds. Similar situation. The first game, we got Arizona coming in here at minus 105-ish on the money line. The Reds minus 115. Total of 10, another high total.
Okay, yes, it is in a very high total, and appropriately enough, it is a similar situation. That exact same. I won't repeat the system. The exact same system I told you about before does apply here, but more specifically, Bumgarner, he's got totals of 7.5 and 8.5 over his last 3, but this total is a run higher. Green in his last 3 starts included totals of 8 and 8.5, so that fits into our parameters where at least one of the starts was a full run less than tonight. So it's a combined, 5 out of the last 6 starts, each guy's last 3 starts. This is a very high total compared to both of these pitchers very recently. And again, let's listen to what the odds makers are telling us. Hunter Green, he's been tossing batting practice. I think I might be able to at least make contact with him the way he's been pitching lately. 9 earned runs over his last 8 2/3 innings pitch in his last 2 starts, 13 hits. Home ERA of 6.59, 1.830 whip, 388 on-base percentage against. And Bumgarner, look, we know this guy's a stud, especially in October. Not necessarily relevant now, although it kind of is in the perception. Bumgarner's got this perception. So if anything, maybe now they're struggling a little bit of value going against him, and especially the over. He's got a 5.21 ERA over his last 3 starts. Now, again, to be fair and balanced, his whip is a little bit better. His whip suggests that maybe he hasn't been pitching quite as badly as the 5.21 ERA suggests. But considering he's easily the best pitcher of the 2 in this game, that's still very good that he's been struggling a little bit as of late. So this is another game where we're going to use the odds makers knowledge against them, and I'm going to bet a high total to go over the total, as much as, again, my instincts hate high totals over, but my computer says, yes, don't worry. This game's going to be plenty of runs.
Well, I hope it is. Always exciting to watch those runs come in, Joe. Now, with the situation with the ball, with the weather heating up, are you expecting us to see more runs as well in these games?
Yeah, I know that's definitely a theory, but I have heard a lot of pitchers say, including Greg Maddux is one pitcher who said he liked pitching in the heat because when his hands would get sweaty, he would actually get a better grip on the ball. So it's one of those things where it could be, a half dozen of one, six of the other. And I've heard where there have been studies where not necessarily the ball doesn't travel further in the hot weather. What I do think, though, is the pitchers could get tired a lot quicker. So it really does vary from pitcher to pitcher. But that was one of those things, I always remember that when Maddox said, because I always had that instinct, hot weather, the ball is supposedly going to travel a little bit more. Plus, it's a little bit tougher for the pitcher. If you got a stud pitcher, to pitch a complete game. But then when Maddox said, no, he likes to get a little bit sweat on his hands because he likes to grip the ball better. I think there are probably a lot of pitchers in Major League Baseball. So I must admit that because of that, the temperature isn't something that greatly influences me either with the side or the total.
Joe, I have to ask, what did you think of this sticky substance and how it's not allowed anymore?
Well, you're talking about as far as the pitchers going to the rosin bag and all that other stuff. Yeah, you definitely don't want any type of cheating. You can get pitchers will tell you they can get much better movement on the ball. If there's some type of sticky substance. I'm old enough to remember Gaylord Perry when he likely did some cheating, but he also used it to his advantage. He used to get in the players' heads where he used to always like to touch, all kinds of body parts and make them think that it's getting in them. But yeah, we don't. There's just, every pitcher and every hitter will tell you that gives too much of an advantage to the pitcher. And then, you always got to be a little bit worried about maybe a ball getting away from the pitcher, which could be quite dangerous. So
absolutely. Now, Joe, talking about those hand signals and everything that they would use to psych out, do you have any superstitions when you're watching these games?
Oh my God, you cannot be a gambler. I was saying only half jokingly, we're talking, well, obviously I'm a New York Rangers fan. And in 1994, I was forced to watch most of the games at a sports bar because it was on Sports Channel America, which wasn't available in Atlanta, although I work for the score phone. So we had the dish at work, but I don't want to hang out at work. So I'm like, the two sports bars that I watched the Rangers Stanley Cup run the most, they're not even around. So I can't go to I want to go back to those sports bars so I could bring good luck. Yeah, there's definitely a lot of gambling superstitions. Maybe if it's a slow day, we could come on and talk about all those. But one of those things where in my little gambling sheet, like I'll mark up a loss right away. But if I'm like, laying 3.5 and up by 22 with 2 minutes left, I'm not going to write up a win. I don't want to jinx it there. But yeah, there's plenty of superstitions, both as a sports fan and even more as a gambler, for sure.
I broke one of those yesterday. I feel like I have a little part of the Rangers loss because I looked at my mom and said Rangers are getting the sweep after that second goal. And then we all know what happened. So, Joe, I apologize. That was on me.
No, me too. It's funny. I was right as the third period was ready to start. A young lady wearing a similar jersey walked in, and I said to her, we could be 5 wins away from. And she's like, "Don't even say that." And we were up at the time, and so I do take some of the blame. So yeah, there's superstitions all over the place, Joe. Believe me.
Absolutely. Well, Joe, all the best in all of your bets today and to your Rangers in the next game. Really hoping that they get the win over Tampa.
Yeah, that's for sure. But like I said, it's I do know as a Ranger fan, if I see another cup, it's not going to be easy. It never comes easy for us Ranger fans. And 94 didn't come easy. And the next one, if I live long enough to see it, it'll be a sweat right till the end.
Absolutely. They always are, but they make the best entertainment and the best betting for us, Joe. Thank you so much for joining me here. Can you tell everyone where to find you and where to get your best bets?
Yeah, unfortunately, because the Twitter character limitations, although I am at Offshore Insider on Twitter, my URL is Offshore Insiders. I only have one pick for tonight, which is, a lot of times I have 3, 4, 5, but I do have a pick, and it is one of the later starts, and it's a very strong side, and it's backed by quite a few systems, and we'll have most likely NBA and a full slate of Major League Baseball tomorrow. So please visit me every day at offshoreinsiders.com and, of course, on Twitter at Offshore Insider.
All the best, Joe. Thank you so much for joining me. I will be back tomorrow, you guys, with another Joe Madden Sports podcast. Thanks, Joe.